Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, April 7th, 2025. I'm glad to be back. I missed last week. I had an excuse, though, as y'all know. Probably saw the video. I did a road trip down to Florida, and I helped somebody out with their 69 Mach 1 project, or Mustang project. So it turned into a really good weekend of productive work. He and I working together, and I know he was excited about it. I was excited about it, and we had a good time. So we were able to get a lot done on his car, and I know he's already anticipating getting a lot more done on it as well. Along with that, while we were there, or I should say, while we were on our drive back, it was 350 miles one way. So we took the RV, we towed my little Honda Fit that I always use all the time, towed that behind the RV, and we drove back on Monday, last Monday, and we stopped in Valdosta, or near Valdosta, Georgia. And one of my fans on here invited me to stop in and take a look at his place, and it was pretty cool. Had a bunch of really nice cars, had some Broncos and Mustangs and Camaros, just really a neat visit. It also helped us out because as we were returning, there was a huge storm coming across Georgia. And so we thought, this is perfect. We'll stop here, take a little break, spend a little time, and hopefully avoid the big storm, which we did. Now, of course, that delayed us. We were looking at possibly getting back in time to do the live stream, but it wasn't going to happen. Even on after we left that gentleman's place, we were driving north, and we had some really high winds pushing the RV around, and so we had to be careful getting back. But we made it back safe and sound. And of course, whenever you make a trip like that, I don't like to leave things. Like, we had to unhook all the vehicle, the tow dolly and the car, and anything that's in the camper needs to come out. I don't want to wait till the next day, so we took care of all that. By the time we were done, it was well after 8 o'clock, and I said, I'm not going to make it. So back tonight, and we've had some really warm weather the past couple days. Last night, in fact, we had to turn on the air, which is odd, but it was in the high 80s yesterday, and then we had a huge storm come through early this morning, and I know it hit here, it hit up. I mean, through Kentucky and all that, and we had tornado warnings, the sirens going off at near our house early this morning, and of course I can't hear, so my wife had to wake me up and tell me that the sirens were wailing. So we got up and had some tremendous rain and lightning and high winds, but thankfully nothing affected us, as far as or tornado or anything like that. So currently it is 56 degrees, and the weather is weird. Of course, today it showed a low of 50. Well, it's going to cool off to 50 degrees overnight. Actually, it's going to get down to 44 in the morning, high of 61, and Wednesday a low of 39 and a high of 65. So, yeah, crazy weather, but it is what it is. As you all know, also, I have done some work, or many of you know, I've done some of the paint work on the Cobra Jet. There will be a video following on that later on. I did get paint on both sides of the hood, the deck lid, the front, the cowl panel, the filler piece actually. It's not the cowl as we all know it. The cowl on these cars are welded in, and on the 69 it's a bolt in. So this is more of a trim piece than an actual cowl panel. But I'm going to do a follow-up video on that. I have an order in for the template to lay out the paint, the black paint, and I also have black paint ready to go just for that purpose. So hopefully all that turns out really well, and it'll be part of an upcoming video. So anyway, thank you all for being here. I know that you're so used to doing this, and if I'm not here one week, it feels like I'm in a whole nother world by the time I get back to doing this stuff. So there's something else, some other things I'll talk about later. But let's get started and see who's here tonight and who is checking in. So first off is Dave Tyson. Good evening, all. Hope everyone is well. And that was at 5:23, so he gets the early bird bell for showing up. Thank you for being here, Dave. Terry Keithley, good evening, everyone in Barry. Please hit the thumbs up and like for Barry, Terry, and Betty, and the cats. Thank you kindly. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. Rick Gain. Hello, all. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and comment frequently. YouTube must know we exist. There's no better place on YouTube to come when looking for Mustang information. Thank you, Rick. I agree. And I still don't get the traction that I really wish I could, but it is what it is at this point. He also says, and Barry, just so you're aware, my cat is also watching the video. She looks forward to these events on Monday evenings. You're very popular with the feline community as well as humans. Well, here's a bell for your cat. And did I mention, I don't know if you can see it. You probably wouldn't be able to see it anyway. There's pollen everywhere here. Even though, thankfully it rained and knocked some of the pollen down. But my goodness, there's been so much pollen. It's crazy here. Weather, pollen. But at least we didn't get any tornadoes, so I'm thankful for that. Jerry is checking in. Hi, Barry. Howdy, y'all. Just wanted to say hi and hope y'all have a good chat. Thank you, Jerry. And Mark, Black GTX. I don't even have a Mustang, but I'm here at every opportunity because I love cars. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And I've said it before. I am a car person, car guy. I don't need to focus on one particular type of car, even though that is kind of what I've been funneled into is Mustang stuff. And it says, good evening, everyone, from Mark in Minnesota. Okay, thank you, Mark. Robert checking in. Evening, all. Evening, Robert. Glad you're here. I'm sure you're enjoying the cold weather that you're getting now. And Mark says, what have you all been up to? I've been installing a Hydro Boost on my Plymouth because the cam doesn't make enough vacuum to operate a vacuum booster. Okay. That's a good question. I've been working on, last weekend working on the Mustang Fastback that I was helping out with in Florida. And then, as I mentioned in my Patreon video, this past week hasn't been very productive. I had appointments I had to do with the VA, ongoing knee and back problems, but you have to try to take care of that stuff. And of course we had to do our taxes. So the week was kind of just sort of getting stuff done, but not really getting a lot done. And that's just the way it is. Life gets in the way a lot of times. David, the bowler hat guy. Good evening, Barry. Hello, all. Cool and cloudy in Virginia today. Yes, it's actually dropped quite a bit over the last hour or so here. Kind of surprising. Roger, Hindsight 6'7", greetings from next door. I hope all our southern Indiana and northern Kentucky folks are okay following the storms and flooding other affected areas too, obviously. Yes. Yeah, I have my cousin lives up in Elizabethtown, and she had posted a bunch of pictures of really high water, bridges washed out. I don't know how bad it is overall, but when you have those situations, it really puts you in your place. Let's say, you think I can do this or do that. Well, if you can't even drive down the road, you're not doing anything. It really puts you down. George Crackle, good evening, everyone. Hoping you're all safe and damage free. Thank you, George. Yes, it's been. There's no damage here. Nothing. There may have been some other stuff happen nearby. I should say that this morning we were watching the radar just south of us, not even 10 miles. They were talking about having what they signaled as debris from a tornado. So I guess they can pick up stuff flying in the air and identify that it could be parts of a building or something, but that was less than 10 miles south of us. So I have not looked into it to see if there was any what exactly happened, but I'm sure there was some damage. Denny Alvey, good evening from Pigeon Forge. Good evening, Denny. Glad you're here. Dave Conville, good evening. Nice new welder you got there. Yes. Thank you, Dave. And that's something else I was going to talk about. I'll bring that up in just a minute. Harvey, Rallycat Garage. Happy Monday, Barry. Happy Monday to you. Rick Stevenson, good evening, everyone. I'm on the road this week. Oh, well, I'm glad you're still checking in. That's good. I'll get my sip of coffee now and continue. Robert had to turn the heater back on here after it being 93 degrees a few days earlier, waiting out that weather in North Carolina before heading out there to work on the Volkswagen. Yeah. Dwight Douglas, good evening all from Indiana. Evening, Dwight. Michael Pagliarini, evening all. I think he's up in Rhode Island, I believe, or Massachusetts, somewhere up in there in those little tiny states. Daryl Horvath, hello from Toronto. Hello, Daryl. And let me see, I think I have one more. Dave Tyson says sunny and 20 degrees. I don't want that either. And I had a little bird tell me that today, or that Betty has a birthday. So I'm going to say happy birthday to you, Betty. I hope you have a good birthday. Enjoy it. I know we all like to have birthdays and cake and ice cream and all that stuff. So happy birthday to you, Betty. There you go. All checked in. Okay. As we had seen earlier, Dave had mentioned, nice new welder you got there. Yes. So many of you know that there are companies that try to sponsor me, and I get a lot of weird stuff offered to me that I just flat out turned down. And I've had Yes Welder contact me. You probably can go back and look in several videos in the past where I have made videos on welders that they have given to me, basically. So started off, when I was working on the Brooklyn Pony, the convertible, Yes Welder had given me a MP200, I think it was the first welder. They actually came to my house and shot some, had a camera crew show up and shoot video, and they put it on their YouTube channel or on their regular page, internet page, whatever, on our website. So they'd give me the first light blue MP200, I think it was. And then they come out with the newer version of that. So they said, do you want one of these? I said, sure. So they gave me that. Then they gave me I don't remember what the sequence was, 2 or 3 other welders, and they gave me a plasma cutter. And I used the plasma cutter. In fact, if in that one of the videos, or intro video, I think, I'm using the Yes Welder plasma cutter to cut up that red car, if I remember correctly. And so I have no complaints with the Yes Welder products. Well, then a few years ago, Art Captain had offered me a welder. And I really was okay with the idea of getting a new welder, new equipment, right? Upgrades, improvements. And so they had given me a welder, and that's when I said, hey, I want you to give me a welder, but I also want you to give me another welder that I can do a giveaway. And I did that. I managed to get them to give a welder to somebody else, somebody that was on this live stream. And so we did that. They also gave me a plasma cutter, which I used and I still use. No complaints. They work fine. But just recently, I had Yes Welder contact me again. And they said, hey, I don't know if they know that I made some Art Captain videos. I don't know if they care. But they said, hey, do you want another welder? And I'm like, sure, why not? So they offered me another welder. It's the First Test DP200, which DP is dual pulse, apparently. And I just did a video. I shot all the footage today, and I'm going to edit that and probably have it out for this week because I know I'm not going to get anything else done this week. So I may make that video and put it out. Let me tell you, these machines have come a long way. My Lincoln, which I still like and I trust and I know will work, you got a wire speed and amperage, basically, right? That's your 2 variables. And that's all you need. That's all you really need. But these new machines, they give you a world of options. Like this thing, I don't, you'll see in the video. You can set the metal thickness, the wire thickness, the gas type. You can do spot welds. You can do before and after afterburn, like to clean and post weld, and all those options. I really like this new welder they gave me. I really, really do. I did some test welding on it, and let me grab a piece of. No, I don't know if it's still in here or not. No, I've already taken them out. Sorry, I've already thrown them on the scrap pile. But I did some test welds on it. Fantastic. So that's probably going to be my new welder that I'm using, is the Yes Welder DP200. So just saying, I can't complain about free equipment. Can't complain about it. David saying happy birthday to Betty. Yes. Thank you. And Unapologetic American. Hey, Barry. Hello, sir. Glad you're here. Sorry, missed a bell. Daryl says, sent you a picture if you could comment on it. Seen this a few times in your video library, but you haven't really shown what you do to fill a joint between the roof panel and the sail panels. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, actually, I did a video on that. And you're talking about the 69 that I worked on down in Florida. So let me see if I can. I know that's like a snapshot type of picture. Let me see if I can pull that up. I did a video on that, and on the Cobra Jet. So let me see if I can get this up. Okay. So this picture is from the video I just did with the Florida fastback. And what he's talking about is the channel or trough that goes between the roof and the sail panel, or the roof lower panel of the quarter. So in this instance, what you're looking at is this filler strip that Peter welded into the car. And apparently Mustangs to Fear makes those. And I made my own. Like, I took a wheelhouse, an old wheelhouse, and I envisioned the shape that I needed. I made a little cardboard template, and I cut it out. And so when I welded that roof to the quarter, I also welded in a filler strip. So that helped build that up and build the thickness. And then on the Cobra Jet, what I ended up using, and I'll show you. So I know I made a video on this. Maybe you didn't see it. On that particular car, I used this Contour aluminum-filled compound. And it says specifically that this is made for those type of things, to fill that in. So that's one option. On other cars, I have used short strand fiberglass to fill that area in, on like the 65 cars down on the where the quarter meets the roof panel. So I have done that, but that's really the only two options that I've ever used. And I am considering trying to do some sort of lead or lead alternative on this car, but I'm not sure yet. I mean, this aluminum-filled compound will work. It'll hold up fine, but I've seen other people, I've seen some videos of people doing the lead or a lead substitute type of material. It's like I don't know what you call it. It's not like all lead. It's a mix. So I may end up trying to do that as well. But I've shown some videos on that. So if you haven't seen them, maybe go back and look at some of the Cobra Jet sequence. So great question, though. Thank you, Daryl. Unapologetic. Remember my email about how to keep people from getting burnt out on their projects. I do remember your email, and I know we had talked about that, and it's a great subject to think about. Um, the and that's a great question. Like, how do you keep from getting burned out? And it's funny. I guess I have a different excuse me. I guess I have a different approach or maybe angle on that sort of thing because, as many of you know, I've said it before. I grew up in a junkyard, and so my life has always been working on cars. Like, it didn't matter what what the weather was. It didn't matter how I felt. It didn't matter if I liked it or not. It was only put upon me that, hey, you have to go pull parts or fix this or do this or do this. It was a family thing. And anytime that like in the summer, that's all I did. I mean, that was my summer, working on cars or pulling parts and all that sort of thing. And when it was school, I would go to school, come home, change my clothes, and go back to work. And I think it's for me, it's just bred into me that I need to do this sort of thing. Now, not everybody is built that way, obviously. I know when I was working with Peter at his place, he was talking about that. He didn't work on his car for 4 months at all because he's like, I don't know what to do. He was frustrated, didn't really want to get into it. And I showed up and I showed him how to do this, how to do that, and give him tips and tricks. And suddenly he was energized. And sometimes that's what it takes. You may need somebody else to help you get that energy back, right? Sometimes for me, it's a matter of maybe going to a car show or going to Summit Racing, going somewhere like that, and looking at parts, seeing cars that are completed or seeing cars that are being worked on. Sometimes that's encouraging to me. Sometimes it's people like, I know, and it's a different angle because I interact with all of you at a different level or different time, but I'll have people send me pictures of their cars and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. Thank you for helping me get to this point, whatever. So there's different ways that I look at it, but it's really hard to say, just keep going, right? Sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes you have to stop. And even when I'm here, because this is all I do, right? I'm here every day, every single day. I come in I wake up from the house, I walk 50 feet out, and I'm in the garage. And so I'm in here. And sometimes I get overwhelmed and think, oh man, I just don't want to do this today. Well, it doesn't mean I have to put in 8 hours. I'm still going to get something done. And sometimes it's just a matter of, I need to clean off this bench. Because right now this bench is so cluttered, it's defeating me from getting to work on this or that or the other. And sometimes it's just cleaning up the shop. Sometimes it's just going through your parts and going, oh yeah, I do have this. I want to make sure I have this lined up to go, blah blah blah, whatever it is, right? It's a variety of things. So I know it's it's hard for me to relate it to other people because even when I was years ago, when I was working full time for Delta, through the week, 5 days a week, I say that wrong. I was working at the body shop 5 days a week, and then I would work on the weekends. For a period, I was working midnight shift at Delta on weekends, 12-hour shifts. But then I went to day shift and that's what I did for many years. So I would work at the body shop all 5 days a week, and then I would go to I would have to do 4 days a week when I went to day shift, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I'd be working at Delta. But it's such a sickness with me that I would come home from the body shop, eat supper, and come out here and do this. I would go to Delta, work 12 hours, come home and just come out here for even half an hour, because even a half hour makes a difference. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. I just can't stop myself. So think about that, I guess. Norris Net, hey everyone, what are your thoughts on future pricing on parts? That is a great question, Jeff. That is a great question. And it's a tough one to answer. It really is. And I know there's a lot of politics involved, and I really don't want to open up that can of worms. But there's a lot of different angles and perspectives on this. Hopefully, things get narrowed down to a proper alignment with everybody on how this is going to play out. But I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. Hoping that everybody steps up and does the right thing and it doesn't hurt us long term. Right now, we have to deal with what's there. That's the only way it is. But it could make it worse. We'll find out. Danny Horvath, perfect, thanks. I know old school guys used to braze using lead. Yeah. And the factory used lead. They would put lead in those seams at the factory. In fact, I know a friend of mine who worked on the Ford assembly line, and he said they had a minute. I think it was 1 minute and 10 seconds to fill those gaps on those cars with lead. 1 minute and 10 seconds at their station. So as the cars coming down the line, that's what they had. 1 minute and 10 seconds. To whatever they were doing, that's all they had. That was the time. Pretty amazing. I can't do it in 1 minute and 10 seconds, I can tell you that. Hey, Matco man. Glad you're here. Hello, all. Yes, some of this new equipment I saw was crazy good, but sometimes it feels good using the old school stuff. Yeah. I mean, when I was working on Peter's Mustang, he had a old standard Hobart, 2 dials. It worked. It does the job. That's all we ask. Travis, good evening, all. Barry, when you come into my house, my car needs an expert. You never know, Travis. You're my #1 patron, though. Thank you for that. Mercury Man Garage and Outdoors, good evening, guys. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Jeff's Trains World HO. Wow, you're back. Nice. Well, yeah. Glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. And it says hi and good to see you again. Well, thank you. Whoops. Hold on. Skipped ahead. Mercury Man, good thing about the Mercury Comments is they don't make a lot of parts, so I don't need to worry about pricing. That's a valid point. Terry Keithley, when you go to PA, are you going to pick up gobs? Yes, one way or another. Whether they're the original traditional gobs, or if they are the off-brand copies that get sold there as well. Yeah, we'll be getting some gobs. And if I can find them like the original stuff, maybe I'll try to get more than just a few. Who knows? But yeah, it's always a struggle. It seems like most of the time they run out so fast that you end up getting the off-brand stuff. So yeah, we will be looking for gobs. Robert, glad you brought up gobs. The Queen was in Ohio and she forgot to pick up gobs for me. Oh, that hurts. Sorry, Robert. It's like she doesn't care. Yep. Jeff, still have a leaky power steering unit. Oh, sorry to hear that. Okay. Other things going on. As you know, this 68 fastback right here, which I'm really looking forward to getting heavy into it. I have to say that. I really, really am. The Cobra Jet has been a great project, but I need to get it done. I need to get it painted. I need to get it down the road. There's going to be a few other things that I have to do to it before it's actually gone. But I'm looking forward to that day. Now, when do I get it done? Well, the weather's, again, not helping me. And this week is a wash. I can tell you that right now. Which is probably a good thing. Like, I can't paint this week anyway because the temperatures aren't good. Next week is probably going to be a lot better. And I think the pollen will be, should be gone by then completely. So, hopefully, I can do it not next week. Well, next week, not this week. This week we're actually doing a road trip. My wife and I. Now, last weekend, we went to Florida to work on the fastback Mustang, right? The 429 tribute car. This weekend, or this week, later this week, we will be traveling back home to Pennsylvania because we're celebrating my in-laws' anniversary, and my wife's birthday is this week as well. So we're going to go back up there and celebrate with them, hang out, and just enjoy some time together with family, because that's pretty important. You just don't get to do that often enough, especially when you live 700 miles away. So we'll be traveling up there, and I know I mentioned it on Patreon. We'll be traveling north. There's two routes you can go. You go up 75, 85, 81 to 64 to whatever. So anyway, we'll be headed up that way. So if somebody's close to one of those exits, maybe we could stop in. Maybe. We'll see. Can't commit to anything at this point, but it's a possibility. Jerry, I screwed up and forgot the gobs. Yeah. Man, that's just wrong. Daryl says, when you sand out the drips on the trunk lid where the lettering goes, will it be too thin and you'll have to add another coat? I don't think so. I put 3 coats of clear on that thing. There's 3 coats of clear on all of it. And 3 coats is plenty. That's a lot of clear. So I don't see it being an issue. I'll take my time, sand that out, get it smooth, cut, buff, all the technique. But I don't see it being a problem. I understand what you're saying, though, because what it ended up doing, if I didn't mention it, and I know I didn't, can't show you, but where the holes are for the lettering, it basically, the clear coat came down and hit those holes and probably went into the holes and created kind of reverse runs, let's say, so that where the holes were, there's a little less clear coat. And there's plenty there, though. There's plenty there. It'll be fine. But that's a good point, though. Got to be careful with the product that you don't sand through and cause more problems. David says, happy birthday to your wife. Yes, thank you for that. I'll let her know. Robert, someone mentioned the price of model car kits last week. Was at Wally World, and the off-brand kits were like $28. I used to buy them at swap meets for $8 to $10. I can also remember as a kid buying model kits at like Kmart. And I remember thinking that at that, this is back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, of course, and looking at those kits going, man, they really want $7 for that, And there's some kits now, like I have some model kits that are, let's say, vintage, right? Meaning somebody gave me some model kits 20 years ago or more, maybe even 25, 30 years ago that I've never opened. So like I have a 67 GTX model kit that I've never opened. It's an older Revell or something. But I also have the, I don't remember the make, if it's Revell or AMT or whatever, but it's a yellow Chevy, like a 72 Chevy truck. And apparently those kits are worth, they're selling for $100 on eBay. And I have two of those kits. One is never opened, and one somebody sliced it open for some, like it was in the packaging, like in a big box of items, and they sliced the box open, and they sliced that box and opened up the end. Yeah, it's pricing on that stuff is just through the roof too. It's like, it's just plastic. Come on. Steve Grimes, Pennsylvania potholes are waiting on yins. Yeah. Yeah, Steve, I know. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry. It's great to be here. Well, awesome. Glad you're here, Richard. Daryl Horvath, did you notice any difference when painting with your new PEX lines? Actually, no. I say I didn't notice a difference. Now, what I mean by that, the air is regulated at the filters that I have in the paint booth. So the PEX line, the blue line over here on the wall, even though it's 3/4 of an inch, once it gets back to those filters, it's regulated down anyway. So I probably wouldn't even notice. Now, saying that, I know that when I was using the paint gun, and I have it on the video that I'm doing where I painted the hood and stuff, I had the fan adjustment off, and I had to fix that, and then it almost felt like I was playing with the pressure. Like, I looked at the data sheet for the paint, and it recommended up to 29 psi. It says at the gun, and it also says 8 at the tip. Well, how do you measure pressure at the tip? You can't measure pressure at the tip of the gun. You don't know what that is. So I had the pressure at like 29, and I was spraying, and it was like, it just didn't feel right. You know, sometimes it's just a matter of feel. You're like, okay, so I had to back the pressure down, and I widened out my fan, and I sprayed, and it laid out beautiful. I mean, the paint looks really, really good. So I didn't notice anything because of the air lines. I noticed it just because of paying more attention to the gun, let's say. So I don't think the airlines really hurt me at all. Amir Rizvi, hi. Talk about Revell G Mustangs. Are they worth the money they go for? My opinion is going to be no. It's just going to be no. And a reason for that. They're selling a knockoff in a sense, right? So we know it's not a real Mustang. We know it's not like they're buying bodies and they're putting pieces together. Fantastic. I have no problem with that. I mean, in a sense, that's kind of what I'm doing right here in my own garage. But I think they're overpriced. I've seen some, I don't know if I haven't kept up with them, but I've seen where there's like $200,000 or more for these things. I don't understand how people are willing to pay that much for these things. I don't know. I've never seen one in person, so I can't say the quality. I can't say the drivability. I don't know anything about that. But I can't see the cost. I don't know where that number is coming from. Even if you're putting in, these brand new parts, I guess they're building the cost into some design technologies where they have to, whatever they're doing to make everything work together. I don't know. But I just can't see, personally, I can't see spending that much money on one of those cars. I just can't. I could be wrong. People are doing it. Obviously, they have a big client list or something. But I don't, to me, they're not worth it. I'd rather build my own. Good question, though, Amir. Thank you. Roger, I just read that Ford ended their agreement with Revology. Well, that's interesting. Like I said, I haven't kept up with them at all. But I have seen on some of the Facebook posts on some of the Mustang Restoration pages, there's people building these 68 fastbacks well over $200,000. Well over. And I get it. I mean, I do to some point, depending on what you're doing. Like with this car, there's a lot of extra performance stuff being added to it. But to me, a plain Jane, I say plain Jane, like a plain car without any upgraded suspension or any real fancy stuff in it, I just don't see the value. I really don't. Terry Keithley, some of my AMT kits that I bought in the late 50s and 60s only cost $2 then. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But a house was only what? $1,200? I know there's a lot of discussion about the cost of housing and everything that's gone up. But $2, that's pretty cheap for a model kit. And those are probably better made anyway. Betty says, happy birthday to your wife. Betty and Terry and our fur babies. Well, thank you, Betty. I don't know if you saw me earlier. I told you happy birthday as well. Little bird told me it was your birthday. So, happy birthday, Betty, if you didn't see it the first time. Richard, please investigate what happened to Gobbs when you get to Pennsylvania. I will try. I will try to do that. James Davis, what's normal price to restore? That's a great question. That is a great question. It's a tough question to answer. The reason for that, if you have a car, let's say like the 69 Cobra Jet that I started with a couple years ago, I guess, that is basically rusted to pieces, right? And you have to rebuild every single part of that car. That's a big difference than when you have something that's 90% there. So as an example, the 69 Cobra Jet was just rusted to pieces, all right? So we had to replace everything. Everything had to be new for the most part. I've got another 69 Mustang sitting up here on my lift. It's my car that needs not even full quarters on it. And a little bit of patchwork on the bottom of the front fenders. The rest of the car is perfect. And I mean that. It's rock solid. So when you start talking about restore, that's where you have to weigh into it. What needs to be replaced and what can you not, what can you keep? So as you go through that list, that's where you have to start doing the math and think, okay, I got to do all this metal work. And like Peter was with his 69 fastback, he did all that work himself, and he got so far towards the end, but he didn't know how to do everything completely. So I had to help him out and get things straightened up. So there's a lot of variables, and it's really hard to give you an easy answer on that. Sometimes people want to put in a better engine, like this car here we're putting in a Coyote. Sometimes you just pull the engine, clean it up, put it back in the car. You don't even have to. You don't even have to talk about. You don't have to do anything to it. So, but I just got permission that if I wanted to, I could talk about dollar figures on this car right here. Okay, so to break this car down, this is basically a fresh build. So right now you're looking at, I think it's probably almost 13,000, around 13,000 I think it was, for the metal to get the metal together, right? The suspension on it I think was 17 18,000, somewhere in that number. So when you start looking at those things, right? Um, I don't know what was invested in the engine, the Coyote engine and transmission. I don't know that for sure. But then you start looking at other things like he's putting in a roll cage. I don't know what that costs, but obviously there's price in that. Um, the suspension is a complete TCI setup, like was in the convertible that I did. So you start looking at all that sort of thing. Then you start thinking about other things like glass. Well, the glass alone on this car was over $3,000, but it's all new, right? So you weigh that out. You're like, well, can I save the door glass? Can I save the back glass? There's a lot of variables that come into play, and of course, add-ons. Like he's going to put in vintage air in this car. I know he's putting in. I think he's putting in Dakota Digital gauges, brand new wiring harness. A brand new wiring harness for these cars is over $1,000, just for the wiring. Or do you reuse what you had? So that's what I mean. There's a lot of things to say. What does it cost? It could cost anywhere from, let's say, low end 40,000, right, to high end over 100, maybe even more. So just some of the things that come into play. But that's a good question. MGK 612, Magic 612. I don't know. Greetings from Japan. Well, welcome, MGK. Art Man, better late than never, checking in from Minnesota. Glad you're here, Art. Amir says they are titled as replica or kit cars, so what you're saying makes sense. Well, thank you. And that's the facts. I don't mind seeing somebody pay big bucks for an original car, right? I don't see a problem with that. But I mean original, not like. There's different ways to look at that. I don't mind somebody seeing pay big bucks like this to build these things, because at the end they get exactly what they wanted. But some of these things they're doing and the price they're charging is just outrageous. But apparently people are buying them. Now, I don't know if they're leaving them alone or if they're trying to buy them, and maybe when they get them in their hands, maybe they're doing something with the numbers. I don't know. I can't say. Travis, are you working on your Mustang after you're done with Fangled? Possibly. I think what I'm going to do, because I have other people that want me to do their cars. We all know that. I could just say tomorrow, bring me your car, and it'll be sitting here to a variety of people. So I have to consider that as well, because my car is secondary to all that. It really is. However, I think what I'm kind of planning in a way is if I can get Fangled done, I get the Cobra Jet done and gone, get it down the road. That's going to free me up to do more, obviously, on this car. And once I get rolling on this car, things are going to happen pretty quick, in my opinion. The welding's going to happen. It's going to turn into a solid piece of metal, pretty quick. But there may be opportunity while I'm doing this that I could do a little bit on my Mach 1. And what I'm getting towards is I've got the quarter skins that I've pieced on that I would like to get them completely attached and be done with them, just to make sure that's all together. There's one other thing I need to fix on the bottom of the car, but that's about it. So I may kind of work some of that in as I'm progressing through this, like if I'm waiting on paint to dry, or if I'm waiting on a process that I can take a few hours and work on the Mach 1, then I probably will. But I have to think about what the end goal is. Like, do I need to have that car done and drive it? Not necessarily. Just having it here makes me feel better about life. I'll say that. Just just having that Mach 1 sitting up on the lift makes me feel better about life. I know that sounds strange, but it's the truth. So, um, anyway, we'll see what I can get done in the process. But that's a great question. TD, when you paint base clear, is it a given that you will have to cut and buff the whole car? Also, what is your favorite clear, brand, and number? That is a great question. Now, there's variables to that. And what I mean is, I have done collision work on cars for people, right? So I did a Toyota not too long ago where I put a new front end on it, redid the hood, the fender, and the bumper cover. And I sprayed that with, it was a European clear. I think it was European clear. And it was fine. I didn't do any sanding and buffing. It had a few dust nibs in it, but it was a driver. So they weren't worried about that. They didn't want to, like it's good the way it is. And it was. It looked good. But typically, what I end up doing, because, and I've said it before, I don't consider myself a great painter. I can put paint down. I can put on clear coat. I can make it look good. But at the end of it all, to really have it look good, I will color sand and buff, or cut and buff as we call it. And it's what I've done on every vehicle that I've ever done. So it just works that way. Now, again, that's for the restoration stuff. On the Cobra Jet, I'll show you what I used. And this is some good stuff. This, I used for the clear coat, and because I've been using Deltron product of PPG. So the primer was Deltron. The paint is Deltron. This is what I'm using right now for the clear coat. Deltron NXT DCU 2021. Now this is an older product line of theirs. From what I've talked to other painters that I know, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's an older, but it's good." And it also has this NXT DCX 61 is the hardener or / activator. So that's what I've been using. And the base coat is Deltron as well. And I've used other clears before. And I think part of the reason I ended up with some runs on this project is I'm not used to completely this clear and how well it flows. So I got a little heavy on it, and that's why I ended up with some runs. But at this point, I'm liking it, and I'm getting more used to how it plays, how it sprays, I should say. So anyway, hope that answers your question. That's a great question. Dave Tyson says gas was 29 cents a gallon back in the 50s and 60s. Yes, you're true. You're right on that. MGK says, "Hey Art, I think I know you." Okay. Daryl says, "Does Peter actually have a 429 to go in his tribute?" He does. He showed me pictures of the engine, and it is beautiful. It is a beautiful engine. It's a 429 with velocity stacks on it. It's going to look sharp. But yeah, he does actually have a 429 lined up. Richard, how many coats of color and clear did you wind up spraying? Okay. Basically 3 of each. So on the hood and deck lid, I did kind of a tack coat, as I call it, or they call it, of base, and it allowed me to establish some of the gun pattern while I was spraying, so I could get a feel for it without laying it on too heavy. I did a base layer on it, and I could see how it was flowing, and I kind of adjusted the gun as I needed to. Did a second round, and then I did a third round, and in between I used that little sun gun that I have from Harbor Freight. It's a little light gun, or light. It's all the way in the back. I'd grab it, but it's too far out of the way. And it's supposed to look like the sun, right, when you put it on there. So when you're spraying paint or base, you take one of those lights and you shine it, and then you can see whether you've got coverage of your primer and how the flake looks and all that sort of thing. So I sprayed basically a tack coat, a primary layer, and then I did a third layer, and I pulled off a little bit off of the surface to let the flake lay down more uniformly. And then I did the same thing with the clear coat. I put like a tack coat down, and then a nice heavy second coat, and then a heavy third coat. And I got a little bit, like I said, I got a little bit too much in a hurry on the clear. I got excited about it, and I should have waited just a little bit longer between coats, and it would have been even better. But yeah, that's what I use. Basically 3 and 3. Mercury Man, I'm considering using the roll-on primer from Eastwood. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? I have not used it, but I'm open to it. I think it's a great idea. I really do, because when you're putting on that primer and you spray primer, a lot of it just goes into the air, right? You lose it. You don't lose it with a roller, that's for sure, and it rolls on thick, you know. So I would recommend giving it a shot. MGK says, hi, I'm from Minnesota, but lived out there in Japan for 30 years, and my buddy Art turned me on to your show, here to learn. Oh, okay, awesome. James Davis, what's the cheapest car to restore staying in the budget? Ooh. That's a really challenging question. The cheapest car to restore is the one you never restore. How about that? The one you just keep on driving. I will say that the parts are cheap overall for Mustangs. Like the 65 and 6 Mustang, I think those parts are relatively cheaper than the later ones. So that will help with the budget cost. And just keeping it simple. You know, if you want to put in some other engine, you have to weigh that into it. Is it worth it? You know, I've honestly looked at maybe buying a 6-cylinder Mustang just to drive it, like not even fix it up. I've seen several on Marketplace, had decent bodies, interior was decent, and they were relatively cheap. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to buy one of these and just drive it. Not even worry about it. Don't paint it. Don't fix it up. Just leave it alone. So, for the most part, though, if you're looking at a cheaper, budget-friendly restoration or rebuild, probably the 65 and 6 Mustangs are cheaper overall. Other than that, I don't know what your brand of vehicles is. You know, the 73 and up Chevy trucks are pretty popular. And I know there's an abundance of parts of those out there right now, but I have not priced any of that stuff to see what it's going for. I know they're popular, so there's a lot of stuff available. Rich Watley, what's up, Barry? I'm working on my rear valance today. F dynacorn. I'll get it to work though. I appreciate that valance video you did a while back. Well, thank you. And I'm not sure what year you're working on. I know that the valance panel that I put on the Cobra Jet, it fit pretty much perfect. So I don't know if there's some difference in the later cars versus earlier cars, if their quality has changed. I don't know, but I'm glad you're going to get figured out. Art says MGK has a pretty rare, desirable car, maybe a little different than normally discussed. But he's also got muscle car roots. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. It's always good to have odd vehicles. Doyle, don't forget about the labor costs and materials and consumables like sandpaper, cleaning, and welding wire. All adds to the cost. Specialty tools if you don't have them. That is a very, very accurate statement. The base coat that I bought for the Cobra Jet was $1,000 for a gallon. Yeah. That clear coat that I'm using If you buy it through PPG, it's like $700 for that kit. Yeah. So you can easily, I'm going to say, you couldn't paint a car for $2,000 using that stuff, because you add in the primer, add in the materials, sanding, all the stuff. You couldn't even justify painting a car without spending, if you wanted that quality of material, easily $2,500, right? That said, there are shops out there that will sell you paint. They'll sell you the paint, the clear coat, everything for like $400, but it's not quality stuff. It's not going to hold up. The clear coat needs to hold up to the UV. The base coat, if you're using something that has blacks in it, a lot of times they won't even use black. They'll use brown. So you get close to what it's supposed to be, but it's not the actual color. So there are trade-offs when you go cheaper stuff. But yeah, it adds up really quick, Doyle. Michael, 200,000 is pocket change for some people. I personally don't know anything about having that problem. Yeah, I don't either. Yeah. I'll never have to worry about being forced to spend $200,000 on a car. Doyle says, have you ever used Finish One made by Sherwin-Williams? I have not. MGK, I'm amazed by your confidence to take certain panels off your cars. I've done my fair share of panel work, body work, but never that far. You must count those spot welds before moving them. Yes, I do. In fact, I do. I will count spot welds. I will keep, like, there's still a bunch of scrap metal from the Cobra Jet, and it's sitting out on my truck, and I will use pieces to verify where things were and make sure everything's back in the same spot as much as I can. But it's funny. I don't have a problem taking a Ziz wheel and cutting a quarter off of just about any car. It's just, I don't know. I've done so much metal work in my life that it's just, whatever. Let's go. Put it back together. But thank you for that. I'm not intimidated by much. Robert, I've been trying to get one of those sunlights from Harbor Freight, but the stores here are always out of stock. It's also sold online, other brands for a lot higher price. Yeah, those things are great to have. Great to have. TD, thanks for the detailed answer. I have a Project 70 Mach 1 I sometimes just go in the garage and look at. I know what you mean about making life better. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it before. My dad had a 69 Mach 1 that was, he sold before I ever got it really, I had a chance to drive it or enjoy it. But I have memories of that car. And it's probably why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is because of that car. And so I've always wanted a 69 Mach 1. I've always wanted to say I own a 69 Mach 1. And lo and behold, I got one. And it has a title. Title's in my name. It can't be sold to anybody else. And I long stories on that. But I just feel so good about having it that just satisfies an itch that I've had for literally decades on having one of those cars. So I'm good to go. And we just hit 100 viewers, which is awesome. Let me say this. If you are watching my videos right now, watching this live stream right now, I encourage you to watch my videos on restorations. Watch those videos. Put time in those, because I need more views on that stuff. And if you're liking any of the stuff that I'm doing right now, watch those videos. I implore you. I even used a big word there. Robert, cheapest car to restore is the VW Bug, followed by the first generation Mustang. I would agree with that. He says, but the parts are either are generally the worst fitting of all the cars to restore. That's pretty accurate too. Mark, cheapest to restore, buy the most complete and solid car that you can find. That's what I did. That's why that Mach 1 is sitting up on my lift right now. RCLAS, priming and painting interior of door with stamped grain pattern. What do you use to not fill the grain in? That is a great question, and it's a really tough question to answer. Um, the I did videos on that before, and I guess let me just give you kind of a short answer on that. What you could do is strip it all out, right? Get it all cleaned off, get all that stuff out of there. You might, to save yourself some effort, spray with a thin epoxy primer because you got bare metal there, right? So you just do a quick coat of epoxy. And then I have used a single stage mix paint, or that my PPG rep mixes for me, that is a sheen, has a sheen to it, a single stage, and just go over it. Now, is it guaranteed that it won't create or fill in some of those gaps? Not necessarily, but the choices are limited. I guess the alternative would be, if you really wanted to be cautious or careful about it, companies like Rust-Oleum or I can't think of the other, Krylon, they sell a rattle can with paint and primer built in. Is this an option? Maybe. If you like the sheen of one of those and you can just spray it, that might work as well. But there's really no easy answer to that, the way I look at it. But that's kind of what I would probably do. Dave Tyson, I tell people to buy one that is done. Yeah. Rusty, I made it all. Hello, everyone. Enjoyed your video road trip. Thank you. That was a good trip. MGK, if you are comfortable talking about it, how much did you pay for the 69 Mach 1? And how hard is it to find a 61 for a reasonable price, in your opinion? Yeah, I'm okay talking about it. I got that car for $10,000. That's what I paid for it. And I can tell you right now, if I just pieced it together, put everything in it, and bolted it together, I could probably get 15 or 20 out of it without even thinking, because the car is so solid. But when I bought it with 2 engines, a Windsor motor and a Cleveland, 3 transmissions. It had extra doors, extra fenders, all new suspension to go up front, a new disc brake conversion kit to go on it, power steering to go on it. There are boxes, a myriad of boxes of new parts, new sway bars, new shocks, new steering wheel. There's so much stuff in there that I just couldn't find a better deal, to be honest. And I've seen some cars that are in way worse shape selling for that same amount. And I'm dumbfounded. I've seen there's guys that, there's a guy that posts a lot of stuff on Facebook who he'll list some rusted up 69 or 68 fastback, and he'll say, well, it's got a good VIN number on it, 25,000. And I can look at it and go, well, that car needs completely redone, So I'm very happy with what I ended up paying for it. And then I turned around and I sold the Cleveland engine anyway, and made some money back. So it's all good. Daryl, back to Peter's cars. 429 is the 429 a Mach 1, 429, or a truck 429. Also, do you help him with the reshaping of the shock towers? I don't know what the engine is, to be honest. I don't know. I've seen pictures of it. I don't know anything about it. That's all I can say. And reshaping of the shock towers, he doesn't have any shock towers on that car. They're deleted. So yeah, he doesn't have that. I have a picture here I'm going to download. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Let me go back up. So go to Amir Rizvi. I watch every video you make, also videos of Lost Socket Garage and video 1194. All of you do a great job. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Doyle, I emailed you some pictures of my trunk interior. Finally done with that area. P.S. Not trunk spatter paint. So I'm just going to show you the picture of the finished trunk lid or trunk pan, and that looks really good. I know you've done a lot of work on that car. So yeah, that looks really good. Even the seams, everything on the wheelhouses, seam sealer, all that stuff looks really good. Good job. I like it. Rusty's Restoration. I have been watching your videos on Jade for door glass, quarter glass, and vent window installation. It was a lifesaver for sure. Great detail. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Robert says, for the grain on the steel, I use a light coat of epoxy and acrylic enamel paint, but even the AE is thicker than old lacquer. Factory was lacquer directly on the steel. Yeah, and that's the hard part, is trying to replicate that with modern paints, and it's just not that easy. It's just not that easy. Thank you, Robert. Ronald Alcorn, good evening. I'm retiring next month. Time to start restoring my 70, Mach 1 I have owned for 42 years. That is awesome. Congratulations on retirement. Enjoy working on the car. PR 4470. Hello, all from Texas. Hello, PR. I want to say, what's the aircraft sealant? PR 1439 is the sealant we used to use. That's why my mind is going when I see PR. I think it's 1439 we used to use. Mercury Man says, congratulations, Ron. You'll love it. You'll love retirement. Rich Watley, hey Barry, the car is a 67 coupe. The valance isn't honestly that bad. The brackets are in the wrong spot and too tall. Curve doesn't match perfect. All fixable. Okay. So we're talking about the rear valance panel. That's good. I mean, you can fix it. We all know. Just, we all know. Rusty, that's a great deal on your 69. I thought so too. I thought so too. All right, man, any fastback around here, just about any condition, has a way higher asking price, no bonus parts. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. When this popped up, it popped up on Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, seriously? And I was just talking about this earlier today with somebody else. I think a lot of it was he posted the car with like nothing on it, just a shell. Like rolled it outside, took a picture of the shell, and then had some secondary pictures. When everybody sees that picture of a shell, they don't know what's there. Like they just see a shell of a car and they go, oh, wait a minute. And I looked at it and I could tell instantly that, wait, this car looks like this has been uncut. This is really good. And so I immediately conversed with the guy, and he was willing to work with me. I mean, that was his asking price, and that's what I gave him for it. I said, I can't argue with it. In fact, there was so much stuff, you probably saw in the other videos, that when I had the Mach 1 in the rear, in the paint booth area, there was stuff piled up everywhere in there. Roger went with me. He had to help me get the car, and we made 2 trips because there was so much stuff. We couldn't put it all in one trailer. We had the car full of stuff, and we couldn't get all the stuff on the trailer. We had to go back and get the second load. So there was lots of stuff that came with that car. Amir says, talk about concept number matching Mach 1 in relation to your car. Concept number 1. I'm confused. Numbers. I guess I'm confused by the talk about concept number matching Mach 1 in relation to your car. I'm a little confused by that, so it's hard for me to relate what you're asking. So like my car, I can only assume I know the engine is the correct engine for it, and it would be a numbers matching from that aspect. The transmission is not. It has the wrong transmission. But I don't care about that. I'm going to put an AOD or something in it anyway. So I'm not sure if I can answer your question the way it's written. Tim Miller. Hi, everyone. Hello, Tim. Glad you're here. Richard Vogel, 10 grand for a Restoration Mach 1 is the bargain of a lifetime. I agree. And like I said, it has, I did a video with the borescope tool that another company sent me the borescope thing, remember? And so I did a video where I showed the inside of the cylinder on the Windsor motor. And it was beautiful. I mean, it had to have been redone at some point. And I know there was some, the heads might need to be reworked, but the main block, it looks like new pistons. Everything looks good in there. So it's fantastic. Rusty says he sent a pic. Okay. And I downloaded this. So he's showing his doors or his windows. Yeah. That looks real nice. And the other side. Excellent. Good job. Yep. Very well done. Looks good. Shannon Vaughn, have you heard of cam break-in service? I sent mine to Cam Research, Englewood, Colorado. I will let you know how that turns out. Cam break-in service. I didn't know that was a thing. I've done my own break-ins, and I know there's a sequence to it. Certain number of RPM, certain period of time, all that sort of stuff. But I've not seen somebody do that. So, good question. I don't have a good answer. Esteban Jones, the pan I use on the grain portion of my 66 door panels came from NPD. Did it several years ago. It might even be a lacquer. It looks like original. Tip, do not sand over in prep or sand at all. Okay, so you're saying don't sand what's there and respray? I'm guessing. So don't sand it at all. Okay. Glad you're here, Esteban. Real Nautical Fishing. Hey, Barry and all. Quick question. Just bought some OSFO to place in some rusty spots until I can get around to fix them. What should I put over the OSFO? I know I've seen you use it, Barry. That's a good question. I can't say what you should put over the OSFO. I mean, everything I've used is an acid-based. I don't know if the OSFO falls in that category. I just do what the instructions tell me to do. So if it says brush this on, let it sit for 15 minutes, wash it off, that's what I do. Dry it out, and if it says put on a primer or epoxy, that's what I do. So that's all I can really go by. I know I could give you some advice, say do this, do that, and the other, but look at the data sheet or look at the information on the container and see what it says to do, and then go with that. I don't want to mislead you on anything. So that's my answer. Daryl, I put a beefed up AOD out of a 92 Cougar with my 347, and they are great friends. Okay. That's probably where I'm going. Similar route. David, are you going to keep the springs in the back of your Mach 1 or go with something more modern? I'm probably going to leave it alone. I don't plan to do anything but enjoy driving this car, like to cruises or stuff like that. So I don't have any reason to change out what's there. And the fact that the car is so solid and original, in effect, that I don't know if I'd want to modify anything. Like, I know there's a lot of options out there. And if it was something, it was more of a bolt-in that I didn't have to cut or modify any part of it, I might consider that. But at this point, I'm probably going to be happy just with the leaf springs, and that'll be it. So, good question, though. RCLAS, I see people putting Dynamat on the inside of quarters. I get it, but it's seen, or am I missing something about hiding it? Okay, so I know what you're talking about. The car that I just worked on, he put Dynamat everywhere. I get it. It's a sound deadener. It works. He's going to have some big speakers, and I'm sure in his car he likes his music, and I get it. What I think what you may be missing on this is if most people are putting Dynamat into the quarter panel or somewhere where the possibility of being seen, more than likely they're going to put some sort of trim panel in there. A lot of people do that. They sell these, either make their own or they sell kits where you can put a trim panel in and it'll look more like a modern trunk and block all that stuff off. The only place you can see it is in the quarters. Everything else is covered up by trim and accessories. So that's what my perception is. Most people will put in some sort of panel with like a carpeting on it and just dress it out. So, but I get it. I know what you're saying. Dave Tyson says, nice. Mark says, nice work, Rusty. And Robert, I don't use phosphoric acid. The epoxy primer tech sheets say specifically not to, and I am leery of issues down the line. So there's an answer. Thank you, Robert. Matthew says, howdy, Barry. Great to see you. Great to see you as well, Matthew. He stopped in earlier today. He's got a project he's trying to convince me to work on. I haven't said no. Doyle, I hung the replacement driver's door, test fit, checked for gap. It is an original door and still has the factory sound deadening material on the inside skin. Should I try and remove it? I wouldn't. Unless there's rust somewhere, you see something causing problems in the bottom, I wouldn't mess with that stuff. Unless you just feel like you need to. A lot of times whenever you try to get stuff loose like that, you could put some Audi dents in the skin, and it may not be worth it. Esteban ran out of room typing. It was a caution not to sand the grain away. Strip if necessary. Yes, I get you now. So on the door panel, he's talking about stripping off the paint, not trying to sand it off, because that won't work. Good point. TD, when the day comes to paint, will you do your doors and fenders off the car? Do you try to paint it all in one day or multiple days? Well, currently I had to paint the hood, the deck lid, and the cowl filler piece separately regardless. I could not have painted them on the car. It just would not have worked. Now, what I've done in the past, if you go back and look at my Jade videos, I masked off everything that I didn't want to have paint on, right? I jammed the doors and I jammed the A-pillars and the kick panel. I put paint there, right? I bolted the doors onto the car and I set the fenders offset forward, I think one hole, so that they were still in line with the door, but they weren't up against the door. I think that's how I did that one. I know I've done that with other cars. So I would I'll finish painting the doors on the car, the inside. I'll make sure I get everything, and it'll be clear coated on the car. All that'll be done, so that the doors, the quarters, everything has the same paint flow. And again, with the fenders, I will overlap everything, make it right. I also will bolt the extensions on, but I use fillers. I use all thread, and I extend the extension off of the quarter about an inch. Basically, I take a piece of all thread, screw it into the extension. I run a jam nut down with a washer on all three posts, put it into the quarter. After I spray some base on there, put it into the quarter, and then put another nut and washer on the backside. And basically, I create a standoff to where I have a gap between the extension and the quarter. And again, that's how it gets the paint flow correct. You never want to paint extensions laying flat. Never, ever do that. It won't look right, especially with metal flake. So all that, and the extensions on the front, same way. They'll stick out the front fender that much, so I get base and clear coat in there. But all that stuff will be painted all in the same, hopefully all in the same time and the same day. If nothing else, I will get all the base coat on the car one day and clear coat it the next. You typically have 24 hours between base and clear coat. You have 24 hours to cover it. So there is a time window there to use. Good question. We get a lot of people in here tonight. That's awesome. I haven't had 110 people here in a long time. Make sure you watch my videos. Jeet Kun. Oh, rain's coming. Jeet Kun Do and Karate. Glad to join. Glad you're here. Rich Watley, I've heard from other builders that you can put Master Series Silver on top of dry OSPO. I still wash mine off though. I use Master Series Silver instead of epoxy. Better rust protection. Okay, that's good to know. C&J, when setting up the door frames to roof, do you check diagonal from left to right with the roof to get it squared up? So, okay, when I put on, setting up the door, I'm a little confused by the question, but what I guess what you're asking is when you put on the door frames or doors, I don't worry about the roof. I guess I'm trying to understand the question. All I worry about on the doors is the alignment with the fender, the alignment with the quarter, the gaps, because you can't really change that. I'm not worried about how it interacts against the roof, because you can index a window a little bit and change some of that, but all this matters more than the roof and that sort of thing. I hope that answers your question. I'd rather have good gaps, and that would be it. Daryl says, just for your info, Barry, my friend owns his own tranny shop for 30 plus years. He rebuilt my AOD with new internals from a 4R75W. They are the same size. Oh, okay. Good to know. Daryl says, just a lot stronger case than a regular AOD. Okay. Jeet says, I was called an absolute child today for questioning the $52,000 sticker price for a Roadster Shop spec chassis. Was I out of line? Is it worth $52,000? That's a hard question. I don't know. Apparently, it's worth it to them. I don't know what they have invested. I don't know what their profit margin is. I can't say for sure. There's engineering involved. There's always tooling costs and all those sort of things. I don't know. I've never looked into them, so I can't say for sure. It sounds high to me. It does. It sounds really high to me, but I don't know. Sorry. Real says, Robert, I just want to put it over some rust for the time being so it stops from spreading anymore. Yes, Barry, it's partially phosphoric acid. I will eventually epoxy. Just want to slow rust. Okay. I don't know a better option. I understand. I'm here. How many projects do you generally do in a year, customers and yours? Okay, so yes, okay, generally, same question. That's really hard to answer because I try to work on one car at a time. I try to. Now, I did start on this because I had issues with the Mach 1, the Cobra Jet, not getting the paint ready to go, and that's why I jumped on this to get ahead of some things. But I may be working on a variety of things. Like, I'll work on these cars, but I also do maintenance stuff. Like, I do brake jobs for people. I do oil changes for people. I do spark plug changes. I do all kinds of other things that add up time-wise, right? I don't know if that answers the answer you're looking for, but generally I try to do one of these at a time and just not get too many other things around it. It's generally what I try to do. depending on the project and how things go, it might take me a year to 2 years to get it done. I don't know, depending on, depends on how things go. Um, the Cobra Jet project really threw me for a loop because Charles passed away, and it just really, it really hurt. To be honest, it really put me on a downward slide to wanting to be out here. So that car just kind of, it was rough for me to work on it without it bothering me. And I've gotten over that as time has gone on, and it's taken longer for that because of him passing. But I try not to have too much going on at one time. Rick Stevenson, time for me to go back to work. Yeah, I'm getting almost to the point where I'm going to have to quit. My throat's starting to get sore. Okay, I'm gonna pull up one more picture here. See if I can get it to add. If I have enough room in my inventory. Okay, I do. So, Rick Stevenson, glad you're here. He says, have a great week. Thank you, Rick. See you next time. Hugh, Unapologetic American, sent you an email talking about sound deadening, and he sent me this picture on his car, and he says, I don't know if underhood installation makes a difference, but I customized my own. And I must say that looks pretty cool. That does look pretty cool. I like it. And Hugh also says, this is a used carpet out of a 68 Mustang. I free-handed the horse, and I cut it with my wife's kitchen scissors. That's even better. Let's look at that one more time. Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. I like it. Randall Heath. Hi from sunny Utah. Happy to be done with the internal fuel pump install on my wife's Ram. I'll bet. That's never a fun job. TD, what do you think about the one-piece headliner? I'm dreading installing an original. I'm not as young as I used to be. We're actually looking at doing that. We've talked about it in this car, putting in the one-piece headliner. I've seen some stuff on vintage Mustang forums of people putting them in and talking about needing 2 or 3 people at one time to put them in. Because once you get it up in there, you have to do certain things, and I can't answer all those questions. But the end result is really nice, but it just doesn't go you throw it at the car and it pops into place. It's going to take some effort to get it in there. So that's all I can really say about that. Good question. Art, I do other people's maintenance and repair all day, every day, so I don't get anywhere on my own projects. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Real Nautical, do you think it will be possible to do a measurement video for the 68 once you get it more assembled? I've yet to see a good measurement spec sheet on video on YouTube. I know you're the best candidate. I don't know. I guess it's possible. It's possible. And he said, how many patches do you think are too many to keep a factory fender since the new ones suck so bad? Well, if you can find them, like on the 68, you can find this lower patch panel, but like on a 69, you can't. I couldn't find it. Apparently, they don't make a patch. I don't know. But I get what you're saying. And yeah, I would rather keep the new ones or the original as much as I can. Hugh says, TMI one-piece headliners are nice because you don't need to remove the windows, but I've had 4 spinal surgeries and still install my own original style headliners. They aren't that bad. Okay. Good information. Thank you. PR, what is the original color that came on your 69 Mach 1? The color was new lime. And I am not painting it back to that color. Yeah, it was new lime, and it's kind of like this color, and that's the way I feel about it. But the color that I'm going to use is going to be something like this, which is the lime gold, which I really like. So that's essentially what my Mach 1 should look like when I'm done with it. Other than a few little things I may change. Like I'm looking at the stripe on this door and the side of it, and it doesn't feel straight to me, so it bothers me. And I don't like the gap at the door. It just bothers me. Just saying. But that's the color that I would like to have on my car. And if not, it would probably be something like that, which is the Tombstone green from '73 on the Bronco there. That'll probably one of those colors will be what I end up on the my Mach 1. So good question. Thank you. Richard, awesome show tonight. Congrats on 100 plus viewers. Yes, thank you. They're still here. If you're watching my videos now, watching this live stream now, watch my videos on YouTube. Hundreds and hundreds of videos about Mustangs, restoration, details. Watch my videos. Randall, a little short on the thumbs up. Yeah, I don't know what the count is, but Daryl says, "Are you doing a chat next week?" I plan to. I plan to be here next Monday night at 7:00. That is the goal. Robert, got to finish packing. Early train to the airport tomorrow. May film the water pump change there if there are enough 4-letter words while doing it. Night all. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to run too. This has been great. We've been over 100 for quite a while. Make sure you come back and watch these videos later on. When I do another live stream, come back and watch. But I implore you, watch my main videos. There's so much information out there. I put so much out that other people don't or are unwilling to. And I want everybody to learn from those videos and take advantage of that information and rebuild a project of your own. So that'll be it for tonight. Once again, thanks for watching. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.